Hello students, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. In the earlier session, we discussed about the overall strategy that one should adopt for obtaining better score in the paper of accountancy for CA Foundation. Also, some of the tips I shared with you in relation to the kind of approach that should be undertaken for the purpose of preparation, revision, as well as most importantly in the examination. Now, as already discussed in the earlier session, we are going to focus on some of the key areas of this subject, very crucial chapters, that too, particularly those which are very scoring, and not only that, those topics which are more logical in nature than procedural, we will try to quickly revise in the sessions which we are currently going through. As a part of that, let us start with bank reconciliation statement, BRS. This is a minimum 5 marks guaranteed question, but most of the times this question is asked for 10 marks. So usually we can expect 10 marks from this topic, and in my view every student should get 10 out of 10 in this topic, because this is just logical, this is just about common sense, and most of the items that we will encounter here will require a bit of thought, and that's it, we'll get marks. Such kind of facility generally will not be available for any other topic. So for a very lesser effort and lesser time that is taken for answering this question, we will get 10 marks, and that opportunity cannot be definitely foregone. We have to get full marks in this question. How to do that? Of course, for everything, certainly the core concept is important. Concepts are important. Then common sense is important, which is a relatively rare commodity nowadays, but that is required. With that, we can obtain good marks. And of course, a lot of practice also will help us in obtaining better marks in this particular chapter. For that matter, any chapter, same things will be applicable. So these things we don't have to talk about again and again. Everywhere, for almost every chapter that we are going to discuss, they will require conceptual clarity, they will require a bit of logical understanding and common sense, and of course practice. Now, what are the common mistakes that people do in this chapter particularly? And sometimes they do the same mistakes in relation to other chapters also. But because we are talking about BRS particularly, what are the mistakes that people do? Let us focus on them one by one. First thing first, the biggest mistake people do is they will try to audit the answers from the material. They will try to see, watch, look at the questions and answers in the textbook. That is the biggest mistake. That is none of your business. You are not auditors yet. What you have to do is actually do, not watch, not see, not just view it. You have to do it. So don't audit the answers. Don't just look at the questions and answers. You have to put pen on paper and solve them, practice them on paper. So what is not to be done is viewing it. What is to be done is pen on paper. Means everything has to be practiced on paper. That is the first important point to be noted. And second important point to be noted, which is a mistake again people do, more particularly so in this particular chapter, is they want to know which item to be added, which item to be deducted. This is the entire mindset that goes on. Add, deduct, add, deduct. No. That is the outcome of the thought. It should not be the thought itself. Outcome of the thought should be whether a particular item to be added or subtracted. That should be the outcome of the thought. That is not the thought itself. It is a big mistake that people do, because they only think about should I add, should I add, should I deduct? What should I do? Should I add, should I deduct? This is the only thought. That is wrong. That should not be the thought in the first place. In the first place, what should be the thought is actually what is the transaction, actually what happened. So the story is very important. Whatever the story that is told by each of the points in the question has to be read, understood very clearly. After having a careful thought, outcome will be plus or minus, which is just clerical. That anybody can do. But a lot of students do a mistake of only thinking about adding or deducting. That will never give proper results, because only in some cases you will be able to do it correctly, and in some cases you will end up in wrong answers because of the mistake in the thought process itself. The thought should not be about adding or deducting. The thought should be about what is the transaction. So what should be this final add or deduct? It should not be the thought. It should be the outcome of the thought. It is the result of the thought that you have. So what is important here is the thought itself, not the outcome. If you focus on the outcome, if you focus on the result, if you focus on the answer only, unfortunately you will never get that answer. That is the problem. So you should be focusing on the process of answering the question, but not answer itself. Unfortunately, our education system most of the times tells us to focus on answer. So we are used to that. So we continue the same mistake here also. So naturally we will face some issues or problems, or sometimes we do mistakes because of this wrong, unscientific approach. So what is the scientific approach? Your focus should be on the process to answer, but not the answer itself. Answer automatically comes. Answer will emerge as the resultant of our thought and as a resultant of the process that we actually undertake to answer the question. So that is a very important aspect to note. And one more point to be noted here is nobody can print the answer. That is a unfortunate mindset of some students, that they want the answer printed. In the sense, their answer sheet also should be like that. It will not come automatically. If let us say there are 1, 2, 3 points, the brain of some students thinks about all points at the same time and it clusters. It definitely will have a problem. Why? Because it is thinking about the final answer. It is thinking about what is the final presentation of the answer, what actually is considered to be the answer. No, it will not happen like that. Brain does not function like that. You cannot print the answer. You have to come to the solution. You have to solve the question step by step. That patience is required. Without that patience, we will end up in solving it wrong, naturally. So step by step solving only will give you the final answer correct. Nobody can print the answer. No, you can't. You have to solve it step by step. Means the point is, while you are thinking about point number 1, let us say, your brain should only think about point number 1, then it should not think about point number 4. That's a different point. We'll come to that later. That is important. Nobody will solve the entire question in one shot. In 1 second, a question will not be solved. It will be solved step by step, point by point, one by one, and minute by minute we will spend time on that. That approach is important. So that over enthusiasm to get to the final answer quickly will sometimes bring wrong answers to some students. So yes, definitely, I'm not saying you will have to take your own sweet time to answer these questions, because there is time restriction. But even then, you have a reasonable time that is available for solving the questions in this paper. So you have to save time in relation to those questions where they will be taking lesser time, and you have to use that saved time in solving those questions which will take more time. So like that, the adjustment of time has to happen within the paper. And while doing so, if there is something like BRS which gives me 10 marks, I am okay to spend sufficient time on that. If you just take an average, let us say on an average, when you have 300 marks and you have 100 marks, not 300 marks. See, 100 marks you have, 3 hours you have. 3 hours means 180 minutes approximately. Exactly. That is 180 minutes plus reading time, forget about it. Exact actual effective time is 180 minutes, which means each mark will get 1.8 minutes. That means for a 10 marks question, there is almost 18 minutes. But the point what I am making is, if I am confident enough and if I am definitely almost sure that I will get maximum marks out of this 10, I am ready to spend even 20 minutes, 2 minutes more, I don't mind. Why? Because I have more possibility of getting better marks in this question. So like that, time allotment has to be done, and a very cautious approach of taking sufficient time has to be definitely adopted. Of course, in the main exam, how can you reduce the time that is taken for solving any question? Again, only with practice. Practice is not about turning the pages of a book. Practice is about pen on paper. So more you write on the paper, more you write on the actual paper, more you practice on paper, naturally your pen speed will increase, and naturally the time taken by you for solving a similar question in the main examination will go down. Otherwise what happens? You will write very, very slowly, and same thing happens in exam. That means you will take more time for lesser marks, which will be definitely resulting in not being able to attempt all the questions. That will be a risk. So time management in exam does not come automatically on that day. It is a result of so many hours and hours of days of practice on paper. So keeping those things in mind, definitely this chapter gives, BRS gives good amount of marks. So even in the examination, you better give it little bit more time. Let us say 2 minutes extra also, I'm okay with that. Even if it takes 20 minutes, if it gives me 10 marks, definitely that is a good proposition. But ideally, it should not take more than 20 minutes. Ideally. How is it possible? Only with practice. But now, let us move on to the actual subject matter here. In the subject related to the BRS, or the concept related to the bank reconciliation statement, certain things definitely we have to keep in mind. What is the purpose? Why are we doing this statement or preparing this statement, something called bank reconciliation statement? First of all, we should know the background of it. Why are we preparing this? Because any organization, we means we are talking about an organization in which or for which we are maintaining the books of accounts. Whenever I say we are the business itself. And there is another party, that is bank. So there is business, which is we, and there is bank. And there will be transactions between us. Normally, what will be the transactions between us and bank? Now, maybe we will deposit some money into the bank, or we will withdraw some money from the bank. If it is cash, directly we will deposit and withdraw. That will be generally not having any big problem. But there also mistakes can happen. Imagine we recorded this wrong, or bank personnel recorded this wrong. Then naturally the balances of our bank account will not match. So whatever the reasons may be, definitely the transactions that are happening between us and bank are going to be recorded by us also and bank also. If both are recording exactly in the same manner, if both are recording exactly the same amount, then there is no need of BRS. But will that happen like that in real life? No. Why? Because human errors will happen. Not only that, time limitations will also be there. So a lot of factors will be there which will result in the entries which are done by us and the entries which are done by the bank may not be same. Naturally, when the entries are different, the balances also will be different. So what will be the balance we are talking about here? We as business will maintain cash book if it is considered to be a subsidiary book, which contains cash column also, bank column also. We are not bothered about cash column here. We are bothered about bank column here. In fact, what does the bank column of cash book actually represent? It is just representing bank account. It is the bank account in our books. So it is a ledger. As you might be knowing already, cash book, or for that matter, most of the subsidiary books are basic entry points, but particularly so cash book serves as a journal also and ledger also, both at the same time. So bank account is the bank column of cash book. So whether you call it as a bank column of cash book or whether you draw a separate bank account, ultimately result is same. But what we are doing, we are preparing this bank account. Let us consider this as bank account as an example, and we will have some entries here within this bank account, which are definitely on the debit side as well as on the credit side. So for us, what are the items that will be on the debit side of the bank account? Naturally, whatever the items which are considered to be the deposits into the bank account. In other words, what are all the items which are coming into the bank account, those will be debited. Of course, those are all the items, we can call them as deposits for simple understanding. So those are all debited. And whatever we withdraw, so these are all deposits, these are all withdrawals. So deposits are all on the debit side, withdrawals are all on the credit side of our bank account what we maintain. That is a basic debit and credit principle that we follow for our bank account. So now let us say, for example, if we deposit some amount, something like 1 lakh rupees, and let us say, for example, we withdrew 80,000 rupees in that particular period, then naturally 20,000 rupees is the balance. That is by balance carried down. That itself will be to balance brought down, that is 20,000. Now the main point is what kind of balance this is. Is it a debit balance or credit balance? And while understanding and using the words debit and credit, we have to be very clear. Are we using them as a verb or are we using them as a noun? When we say 1 lakh rupees is debited to this bank account, that is a verb, that is an action that is happening. 80,000 rupees is credited to the bank account, that is a verb. Now this 20,000 rupees is a debit balance, that is not a verb, that's a noun, that's a debit balance. So what is this 20,000 rupees representing? Is it a surplus or a deficit? Of course a surplus, because we have deposited 1 lakh, we withdrew only 80,000, remaining is 20,000. We have money, our money within with the bank, that is 20,000, which is a surplus amount. So now what we have to understand definitely from this is our bank account or our bank column of the cash book, if it has a debit balance, that means it is showing a positive balance. If it is showing a credit balance, our books, that means it is a negative balance. Negative balance for a bank account can be also called as overdraft. So this is important because in the questions they may not give all these things. They may just say the cash book shows a debit balance of so much. We should understand, okay, in our books debit balance means a positive balance, In our books, let us say if it is a credit balance, that is a negative balance. Now it can be understood even in a different way also. Though we understood with this example, hopefully very clearly, even it can be understood in a different way also. See, when we say balance, balance is something that can be either an asset or a liability. Only two are possible. Particularly the items which are going to go to the balance sheet. There are only two possibilities. Either it is an asset or a liability. So what are the things which are assets? Assets are all debit balances. Liabilities are all credit balances. So it is a simple way. You don't have to by heart and all. It is a simple way to remember. Debit balances are assets. Credit balances are liabilities. Now when you have a positive bank balance, it is your asset, right? Your money is there in the bank. That means it is your asset. That means which balance it will have? Naturally debit balance it will have because it is an asset. When you have an overdraft, that means automatically you have a liability. That means you have to pay to the bank, which means it's a liability. So what kind of balance liability will have? Naturally credit balance. So like that also you can remember, debit balance is a positive balance, which is an asset. Credit balance is a negative balance, which is a liability. So that should be very clear, which balance represents what, positive or negative, plus or minus. In accountancy, the good thing is always it is binary. It is always about plus minus, always about two things only, debit, credit, plus minus, add, subtract. Only one of them only will happen, either asset or liability, either income or expenditure, like that. It's always about either or. And if we have clarity of thought, it will be easier to identify which one of them is that. Every time we don't have to get our heads broken for thinking what it is and all. It is a commonsensical thing. If I have money in my bank account, that is my asset. That is naturally a positive thing. That is why it is a debit balance. If I have a overdraft balance in the bank account, that means I have a liability, which is not a good thing, which is a negative thing. It is not surplus, it is deficit. That means it is a credit balance because it is a liability. Simple logic. That logical things only will help us. By hearting these things will not help us. Major mistake people do in accountancy, particularly the topics what we are discussing, is about by hearting the things. Even some people will have this list of all the transactions and whether to be added or deducted, like this. They will have all these variety memorizing techniques. This is absolute rubbish. You should never do that. Unfortunately, even in the ICA material also, these things are given. There is a big list of things which is given. What should happen? Should be added or deducted? Should be added or subtracted? That list is not required. You don't have to remember that. You don't have to by heart that. You should not by heart that actually. Because every time we encounter something, we have to think fresh and come with a solution. That is what our brain is capable of. So that's what I was calling about in the form of common sense. Yes, in order to apply that common sense, basic subject knowledge we should have. That is required. What is debit, what is credit? We should know that. When we are preparing a bank account in our own books, what does debit balance represent? Asset, which is a positive balance. What does a credit balance represents? Liability, which is a negative thing, or a deficit balance. That we should know. That is what we are trying to know now. So to that extent, if we know, we have already a clarity about what about our books. In our books, what are the balances in the bank account that we prepared or the bank column of the cash book? What balances they represent, we know that already. Now the point is the bank also prepares the accounts. Bank is also another party. Now bank also prepares books of accounts. Now what happens in the bank scenario? Obviously it is opposite. When you are talking about two opposite parties, the final results will be opposite. If let us say I'm a business. I have a positive balance in my bank account. That means it is my asset. Obviously it is a liability to the bank, right? So for a bank, from the bank point of view, a positive balance or a balance which is there in the customer's account is a liability. So when a business is having a positive balance in its bank account, that means bank has to pay that money to that business. So it is a liability. So what kind of balance it will show when it is liability to the bank? Obviously it is a credit balance. So in the bank passbook or the bank statement, whatever it is, Sometimes banks give passbooks. Still, some of the old banks give that. Most of the modern banks are not giving passbooks and all. They're just sending statements, bank statements through email mostly. So in that, credit balance represents what? Is it from our point of view or bank point of view? It is from bank's point of view. From bank's point of view, it is a liability for it. Is it good for us or not? Yes, it is good for us. Bank's liability means our asset. So credit balance in the bank statement or credit balance in the bank passbook is good for us. So that means it is also positive. It is not negative. It is positive. For whom? For us. Are we thinking about bank here? Are we doing something for the bank here? No, we are not bank employees. We are doing something for business. So from the business point of view, if the bank statement is showing a credit balance, that is positive for us. Just opposite. Earlier, debit balance was good for us because it is our books. Now, from the bank's books, credit balance is good for us. Naturally, the debit balance, if shown in the bank statements or bank passbook, that is what does that represent? That is not good for us. That is negative for us. Negative means it is overdraft. So simple. To summarize, just opposite of what we already have seen. In case of credit balance of bank passbook or bank statement, it is a positive balance. In case if it is a debit balance in the bank passbook or bank statement, it is negative. This is what we call as overdraft. So when we say there is a debit balance in the bank passbook, automatically what we should think? Because it is a overdraft. When we say or when we see there is a credit balance in the bank passbook, what we should think about it? It's a good balance for us. Always it is from our point of view. We have to think. Our means business point of view. So these are the core things that we should first of all keep in mind. Once again, to summarize, our books, debit balance is positive, credit balance is overdraft. In bank's books, which is nothing but bank's passbook, bank's book only, bank passbook is nothing but it is just taking out one account, which is our account in their books, our ledger in their books, they are sending us. That is what is bank statement. Because they will have lakhs of customers. Only for one customer, they are sending the account. So it is the bank's books of accounts. They are also maintaining books of accounts. One particular customer's account, they are sending to the customer. That's what we call as bank passbook or bank statement. So in case if it is the bank passbook or bank statement, credit balance is positive, debit balance is overdraft. That's all. So this has to be definitely known before we start doing any other actions like add, deduct, etc. later. So now what is the purpose of bank reconciliation statement? Because of various reasons. Again, we don't need to remember all these reasons. No need of that. We can just encounter any reason and understand what happened with common sense. So without any other by-hearting exercise, simply we can see because of whatever reasons, the balance as per our books of accounts is different from the balance as per bank's books of accounts. That means, in other words, simply what we say, the balance as per passbook, which is not our books of accounts, passbook means bank's books of accounts, is different from balance as per cash book. Cash book we are preparing. Cash book which column? Bank column. So bank column of cash book, which represents our books of accounts, is showing a different balance, and the passbook, which is nothing but our account in the bank's books of accounts, is showing also a different balance. Why that happens? Various reasons can be there. There can be mistakes, errors, timing differences, communication differences. So many reasons can be there. Whatever the reasons are, definitely because of something, one of the balances is showing a different amount from the other balance. So that is the core point of bank reconciliation statement, or we can say that is the reason for preparation of bank reconciliation statement, because the balances in general will not match. So what we should do now by preparing the bank reconciliation statement, what we should do simply is we should know what are the reasons for differences. So definitely we have to start with some balance. Which balance? We don't know. Whatever is given in the question. If both are given, we can start with any balance. But any balance, whatever is given in the question, that is the starting point. Starting point is the crucial thing. Most of the cases, it will be straightforward because the question will tell that what is the starting point. That can be only two possibilities. Either it is a passbook balance or it is cash book balance. Only two are possible. Now, that is a starting point. And what we have to do, find out the reasons for differences and adjust the balance as per the starting point, whichever it is, and come out and arrive at the ending point. That is the balance as per other book of account. Means, let us say if our starting point was the balance as per passbook, obviously ending point will be balance as per cash book. Imagine if our starting point is balance as per cash book, then ending point will be balance as per passbook. So one of the books of accounts we will start with, and we will end up with other set of books of accounts. Always there are two people involved here. One is ourselves, which is business. Other one is bank. If passbook balance is the starting point, we will end up having cash book balance as a final resultant answer, and vice versa. That is what we have to do. For this we get 10 marks. So all that we need to know here is, of course, finally, what are these adjustments? How to do them? That is the essence of it. But before going there, point once again to be noted is, where are we starting is the key. In general, the question will tell us only one balance. That itself automatically is the starting point because we don't have any choice. If in some cases, questions may have both balances. Balance as per passbook is this much. Sorry. Balance as per cash book or bank account of our books of accounts is this much. Both are given. Then you can choose any one of them as a starting point. Obviously, the other one will be the ending point. So, what is the starting point? That is the key. That is the beginning, definitely. Now, when it comes to this, whichever one it is, we know already either only two possibilities are there. One, either as per passbook or as per cash book. Let us call that. Bank account or cash book, both are same. Passbook or bank statement, both are same. Only two possibilities are there. Again here, there are two possibilities. Because this can be a positive balance or a negative balance. This can be a positive balance or a negative balance. So any one of them will be the starting point. That is the key identification factor, because if that is correct, mostly the final answer will be correct. If that is wrong, naturally the final answer will be wrong. So starting point you have to choose very carefully, and we should know that already. In case of passbook, what is positive, what is negative? Credit balance is positive, debit balance is negative. In case of cash book, debit balance is positive, credit balance is negative. This you have to know. Don't try to remember by heart or memorize. So that is a logical thing, conceptual thing. So any one of them will be the starting point. Then sometimes students and even some of the problems or even the kind of formats which we see in the textbooks also tell that if it is a positive balance, the way we should solve the question is different. If it is a overdraft, the way we should solve the question is different. Reverse things should happen. Add becomes less, less becomes add. Like this, people will confuse. Absolutely unnecessary. There is no difference in what we do, irrespective of whatever the balance it is. What is a negative balance? It's a simple minus. So if it is 100 rupees, it is a plus 100 rupees. Negative does not change the world in a big way. Just it becomes minus 100. That's all. So for that we have to change our thought. For that we have to change our presentation. For that we have to all completely turn around the things here, there, confuse ourselves. All this is required. For what? Nothing. Nothing is required like that. Simple. If it is a positive balance, let us say 1 lakh rupees positive balance. Start with 1 lakh rupees. Whichever balance it is. Balance as per passbook or cash book as given in the question. Whatever it is. If it is positive balance, you start with that. If it is negative balance, what is a great thing you are doing? Just put this. That's all. In financial things, in bracket, if you are writing something that is negative. So, simply, you can write like this. But more than that, professionally, I would suggest this looks better. So, minus 1 lakh only it will become. Remaining things all we will do the same. So, finally, where the impact of this will be there? In the calculation. Your thought will not change because of this. Need not change because of this. Final calculation will change. If it is positive, your final calculation will start with plus 1 lakh. If it is negative, your final calculation will start with minus 1 lakh. Simple. So it's only a calculator thing, not a thought process thing. So don't try to confuse yourselves with unnecessary different models, this, and lot of complications unnecessarily created. All those things are not at all required. All that we need to know and do is simple. We need to first of all identify, boss, what is the starting point. Starting point is it the balance as per our books, which is cash book, or is it the balance as per bank's books, which is passbook or bank statement. That is the first point. Okay, whatever is given in the question, we'll take that. If both are given, we can start with anything. That's your choice. That is the starting point. Then the question comes, okay, boss, next second question. Whether that balance is a positive balance or a negative balance. Only two options are there. There is no other option. There is nothing called a third option here. That is a main point. Again and again I am repeating. Accountancy is like that. It's like life. You don't have any choice here. Much of choice you don't have. For a human being, you will inhale and exhale. Do you have any third choice? No. You have to inhale, exhale to live. That's all. If you ride a bicycle, you have only two pedals, one left pedal, one right pedal. Then only the cycle moves forward. That's all. Two choices only you have. Both of them you have to just balance. Like that in accountancy also, always most of the cases there will be only two choices. Only point is you have to make a right choice. That is the key. So if it is positive balance, you start with plus. If it is negative balance, you start with minus. That's all. So that is the starting point, which is the key. Okay, we have the starting point. Then what? Then from there onwards, it is all thought process. From there onwards, it is all about how we actually see the points one by one and how we are reacting to that. That depends upon what balance we started with. And that depends upon also what actually happened in that particular transaction. We cannot define that. And again, another mistake is people try to define this. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like this, 10, 15 different types of transactions. What should be the treatment? If the starting balance is this, we should do plus. If the starting balance is that, we should do minus. If the starting balance is something else, we should do minus. Like this, for each different types of transactions, people try to remember the treatment, which is absolutely not necessary, and it's waste of time. And ultimately, it will lead to a wrong answer, let me tell you. Most of the cases, except very few perfect by-hearters, there are some people who perfect that art also. Except those, most of the people will actually get wrong answers if you by-heart these things. Don't do that. All about common sense and thought process. So, first thing first, starting point. After that, everything is common sense. After that, it is all about common sense. After the everything is just added, deducted, according to the requirement, whatever it is. It's all about totaling. Totaling anybody can do. Small kids can do. If you give them a calculator, anybody can do. That you can do, and finally you get the balance as per some other book, other than the book that you started with. That's it. That is BRS. So how to actually think about various transactions and what is actual treatment of plus or minus, that is the core aspect which we'll have to discuss. That can only be done by solving the problems. Again, I'm repeating, you don't try to remember them anything. Those are not called as concepts if you remember them. Concept is something which you should know, not remember. For example, nobody will remember cycling. Nobody will remember how to swim. You know swimming. You know cycling. That's all. You don't remember swimming. You don't remember cycling. So if somebody is remembering itself means that is not conceptual. Certain times a memory may be required, but not here. Not every time. Here definitely not required. So all that what we require is a logical brain and a thought process. How we have to apply that? We'll see that with some of the problems. So let us start solving some of the questions from the recent revision test papers as well as past examinations. Question number 1. On 31st March 2021, The passbook of a trader showed a credit balance of 15,65,000. So first thing first, already we know what is the starting point. And it is passbook balance that is given. And it is a credit balance. And we should definitely know, if passbook is showing a credit balance, that is a good thing. That's a positive balance. So that is the starting point. Amount is 15,65,000. So we don't have to look at other things. Simply we can start preparing the statement first of all. The heading has to be very clearly given in full form. Of course, in the examination you have to write all these things well, present well. So bank reconciliation statement as on. It is prepared on a particular date. So as on 31st March 2021, full form you have to write bank reconciliation statement. Don't write BRS. In the examination you have to write full form. And obviously it should have a proper statement format. Any statement normally will have two columns. One is particulars and the second one is amount in rupees. So if you don't want to draw rupee symbol, you can write rupees also, no problem, either way it's okay, but you have to write that amount and rupees. So if it is rupees in thousands, it should be written as rupees in thousands. If it is rupees in lakhs, it should be written as rupees in lakhs, whatever it is, but that has to be clearly written in the heading. So bank reconciliation statement as on so and so date, particulars amount. This is a presentation form of it. But again, presentation form is something that you have to take care of in the examination. And what we are going to focus here majorly is all about the treatment form of it, treatment aspect of it. So what is the starting point and what has to be done with that? So what is the starting point here as given in the question? Of course, you have to write all these descriptions in the exam. But simply here we'll write in short form to save time. That is balance as per passbook. So that is passbook balance, we can call it. We have to write full forms in the exam, not to write any of these arrows and all. Again, I'm repeating, presentation is something which has to be done very properly in the examination, but while practicing, we focus on the subject and answer than presentation. Presentation is something that you have to do in the examination, and definitely it has to be in a much better format. So our focus here will be more on the treatment than presentation. Presentation, how it has to be done, it is not a rocket science. As told you already, a proper heading should be there, particulars, amount in the bracket, rupees should be written. Then starting point is balance as per passbook. That is passbook balance, which is a positive balance. So we will start with that, 15,65,000. And as we know, there are only two options. There is no other option. Either something to be added here or something to be deducted here. So add or less. One of them only will happen. So what is the mindset and how we should proceed? As I said earlier, first thing first, starting point is important to identify, and identifying whether it is a positive balance or negative balance is important. We identified that it is a passbook balance and it is a credit balance, which means positive, which is a good thing. So 15,65,000, directly we wrote the positive number. If it was negative, we would have written it in brackets. But now the point is the passbook balance was different from the cash book balance because of the following reasons. There are various reasons because of which this is not matching with cash book balance, which we should find out. It is not given. Now let us see one by one what are the things. Then only the thought process will start. One by one, point by point. First. This is checks issued to X for 60,000 rupees and Y for 3,84,000 rupees were not yet presented for payment. See, we have to understand the story. Again, checks issued but not presented for payment, add, deduct. No, not that way. That is not the way to remember things. You should not remember anything. Just you should know what happened here. What happened here? We issued checks. See, naturally when we issue the checks, what we will do? Immediately we will credit our bank account. In our books of accounts, in the cash book bank column, we will write on the credit side that we gave the check to X and Y. That means because of this, definitely our bank balance according to our cash book would be lesser. So for any transaction, what you should identify is what is the first impact. First impact will happen once, and not necessarily always that itself is the final impact. Sometimes it will lead to another impact, that is second impact or final impact. Of course, there are only two parties here, we and bank. Only two parties means maximum there will be two impacts, not more than that. So first impact is happening where, that we should identify. If that itself is final, then we'll do the adjustment automatically. If not, then we have to also look at the second impact where it happens. So what is the point here finally to be noted is, whenever we have started with something, that is where the final impact should be actually adjusted for. So impact happens at one place, but adjustment happens at another place. So look at this situation where checks are issued, which means we would have credited our bank account in our books of accounts because we issued the checks, which is a withdrawal naturally. So 60,000 and 3,84,000 in our books of accounts, we would have credited our bank account. That is the first impact. But that is not our starting point. Cash book balance was not our starting point. It was passbook balance which was the starting point. Now we have to look at next level. Because of this, of course, our bank balance according to cash book would be lower. Naturally, because of this, balance as per passbook will be higher because these people have not yet presented the checks. They have the checks in hand, but they have not presented it for payment yet. It is not in our hands. They are customers. They will go and present it whenever they want within 3 months. But on this date, they did not present. On 31st March, they did not present. So we recorded it in our books. Bank did not record it in its books. Why it did not record? Because it never received any check for presentment. So definitely, as per passbook, the balance will be more. So it is already more. Already if it is more, what we should do? We should reduce. So we have to reduce 60,000 and 3,84,000. That will be in the less. 60,000, 3,84,000. That's all. Again, first impact is cash book, our books. Because of the checks issued, we would have already credited our bank account in our books, which is nothing but bank column of cash book, because of which our bank balance according to our books of accounts, which is cash book, will be lower, and because of that, bank balance as per passbook would be higher because bank never received these checks at all. So because our starting point is balance as per passbook, we have to reduce it from the balance as per passbook because bank balance as per passbook is already higher. What is already higher, we have to reduce it. What is already lower, we have to increase it. Reduce means here less. That 60,000, 3,84,000 should be reduced from the starting point. That's it. That is one treatment. Done. Second thing, bank charged 350 rupees for bank charges. That is one point. That is a different point. So that's enough. And also Z directly deposited 1816 rupees into the bank account which were not entered in the cash book. Happens. That is why we have BRS here. Bank charged. So here words are important. Charged means bank is charging us. It is not giving us interest. It is not giving us anything. It is taking from us 350 rupees. So from a bank point of view, of course, first impact is bank only, which is passbook only. In the passbook, they charged 350 rupees. So what they would have done? For understanding purposes, charging means they would have debited because it's a withdrawal. In bank point of view, withdrawal is debit, deposit is credit. So it is a withdrawal. So they would have debited this. Fine, whatever it is, debited or credited. Ultimately, what happened? What is the impact? That matters. Impact is because of this, the passbook balance will be lower because already the bank has reduced these bank charges from our balance. Bank did that. We did not do that because we don't know it till now. Now we know. Because now we know, we are entering that in the bank reconciliation statement. So 350 rupees definitely is reducing the balance as per passbook, means already it is reduced. So what we should do now? Add Add 350. Another point, Z directly deposited 1816 into the bank account. That also we didn't know till now. Only now we came to know. Because we didn't know till now, we did not do anything in our cash book. But already 1816 rupees directly deposited into the bank by somebody, whoever it is, Mr. Z. So because of that, the passbook balance is more. And that is the starting point for us. So since passbook balance is already more, all that we need to do is reduce. That is 1816. Next, two checks. One from A for 5,15,000, another from B for 12,500 were collected in the first week of April, although they were banked on 25th of March. Point is, we received these checks. Every time, every point, a story is important. First point was checks issued. That means we gave checks to somebody. We will give checks to some of our suppliers. But now, this point is about our customers who gave checks to us. So what we would have done, we would have deposited them. When we deposited them in the bank, 25th of March, we did that. Of course, sometimes checks collection will take some time, because of which on 31st March, the bank did not credit our account with these amounts. We already debited our accounts because we received these checks. Already we would have debited the cash book or bank account that we maintain in our books of accounts. So 5,15,000, 12,500, both of them were recorded in our books, but they are not yet recorded in the bank books because they have not yet collected it. So first impact is not passbook. First impact here is our books. In our books, 5,15,000, 12,500 we debited. Means our balance as per cash book is already more. Naturally, balance as per passbook is already less. So, when our balance is more, bank balance as per passbook will be less. When it is already less, when it is already lesser than our balance, naturally what we should do? We should add. So, 5,15,000 and 12,500. Because bank did not do anything here. We debited our books, which means our balance was more and passbook balance was lesser. When it is already lesser, lower, we are adding it. That's it. That is the next point. One more point is the interest allowed by bank, which is 4,500. Now it is allowed by bank, not charged. Allowed. Allowed means bank gave us interest. Bank gave us interest, good thing. But bank already recorded that because they know how much interest they gave to us, but we don't know till now. Only we came to know now. Now we have to record that in the reconciliation statement. Of course, we are not preparing a revised cash book here. If you prepare a revised cash book, then we can prepare a revised cash book first. Then we can prepare a bank reconciliation statement also. That is another way of doing it. If only bank reconciliation statement is asked, we may not be required to prepare a revised cash book. That is a choice. We can do that also. We can directly prepare BRS also. We are doing BRS directly in this case. Let us say, in this case, we are not preparing any revised cash book. So here, interest is allowed by the bank, means bank would have credited our account by 4,500, because of which the first impact is in the passbook only. First impact is in passbook and we started with passbook only. So we don't have to look at second impact. If the starting point if itself is passbook, if first impact is passbook, that's it. We just have to directly identify whether to add or deduct. No need of going to second impact. If the first impact is cash book, then what we started with was passbook. Then we have to look at second impact, which will be opposite impact. So here, first impact itself is passbook, because of which what happened? The balance as per passbook would have been more, because they would have credited our account with this 4,500. It is already more, balance as per passbook. So naturally what we should do now? If it is already more, we have to reduce it. Reduce means less, 4,500. That's all. Now all that is required is calculation. Do it. 15,65,000. If it was minus, you start with minus 15,65,000. Nothing else will happen. Simple logic will be always same. So 15,65,000 plus 350 plus 5,15,000 plus 12,500 minus 60,000 minus 384,000 minus 1816 minus 4,500 will automatically give you 16 lakhs 42,534. What is this? Balance as per cash book. Our books of accounts would have shown 16 lakh 42,534. That is the point here. We have prepared the bank reconciliation statement directly. Now another question may come, why we did not prepare the revised cash book? First of all, we don't know what is the balance as per cash book. How can we prepare a revised cash book here? We don't know what is a balance as per cash book. Starting point itself is passbook. When starting point itself is a passbook balance, we don't need to prepare a revised cash book. If the starting point is our cash book balance is given, and if there are some mistakes or errors or omissions or timing delays, then we can do a adjusted cash book if the cash book balance is already known. But in this case, we don't know the cash book balance. We know only the passbook balance. So all that we need to do is show the adjustments to the passbook balance so that we arrive at the balance as per cash book, which is 16,42,534. That's it. That is the answer here, and that is how it will be presented in the examination. Should be presented like this. Clearly, all these details have to be given. Bank reconciliation statement, as on which date, we have to write that. As on which date, you have to write very clearly. And not only that, we have to start with particulars. Maybe these inner columns can be shown if time permits, or you can just show them as part of it. Main thing is definitely amount rupees should be written. Starting point, what is that? Balance as per passbook, which is a credit balance as per passbook. Then various things, whatever to be added, deducted, whatever is the details, that only you have to write. So what are these things which we added here? Adding is not important. What is that thing? Why it was added? That was important. That is the thought process. So these are the checks which are deposited but not yet collected. Because of that, we added these things. And bank charges which were charged by the bank, which we didn't know, because of which the bank balance was lesser. So we added that also. That's it. Then we deducted certain items like checks which we issued, but those people to whom we issued, they did not present them. Because they did not present. Bank doesn't know that. Bank doesn't know means already the bank balance as per passbook is more. So we reduced it. Same way somebody deposited directly in the bank. Bank did not do anything wrong. They just credited our account. That's okay. But we did not know that earlier. Now we know. Because of that, we have to reduce it. Since balance as per bank passbook would be more because of this credit. Direct deposit. Same way interest allowed by the bank means certainly interest that is credited by the bank, which is a deposit naturally. In the bank or even cash book or bank passbook, ultimately there will be only two things: deposits, withdrawals, plus minus, debit, credit. Nothing else will be there. What is that? We should identify. 4,500 is the interest that is allowed by the bank. So bank would have credited our account, which means because of that our passbook balance, their balance in the passbook maintained by the bank would have been higher. So we reduced that also. After doing all this, final balance is 16,42,534. Proper presentation is required. Of course, this question is not for 10 marks. It is a smaller question. This would be at the maximum for 5 marks. So such questions can be asked in the examinations. 5 marks or 10 marks doesn't matter, but definitely full marks have to be obtained from this particular topic. That's what matters. Both are very valuable. Now coming to question number 2. Again, preparing a bank reconciliation statement from the following particulars on 31st December 2020. That is the date. So what should be the heading? Bank reconciliation statement as on 31st December 2020. So what will be the starting point that is given here? Bank balance as per cash book is given. So cash book, when it is given, Maybe some items which we omitted or which were not earlier known to us, we came to know them now only. Those things we can adjust. So even though it is not asked to prepare a separate revised cash book, it is better to prepare a revised cash book or revised bank account. So let us call it the bank account revised in our books of accounts, or simply you can also call that as revised cash book. It will have its own debits and credits. So what is the starting point here? Bank balance as per cash book. Debit balance is positive or negative? For us it is positive. So 1,98,000. This is our books of accounts. Debit balance means positive balance, 1,98,000. Starting point. Then comes various items. If it was because of our omission or because of late communication, then we can adjust our cash book. If the mistake is from our side, we can adjust that. If the mistake or the difference is not in our control, then we cannot adjust the cash book. Then it will go to the BRS. So in the cash book, whatever we can adjust, we will adjust. Let us talk about one by one various items. Bank charges debited by the bank not recorded in cash book. So bank did that correctly. They debited it, but we did not record. Why? Because we didn't know then. Now we know. When we know it now we can record. So 34,000, is it a deposit or withdrawal? Bank charges, it's a withdrawal. So for us, withdrawal means credit. So 34,000 should be credited by bank charges, 34,000. Next, received from debtors via RTGS on 31st December 2020. We received some money. RTGS is called as the real-time gross settlement. Whatever it is, IMPS, RTGS, NEFT, various names are used for bank transfers. Ultimately, it is a bank transfer. When some bank transfer is happening, some of our customers, who is our debtor, has paid something 1 lakh rupees. Maybe we did not see that. We did not record that in cash book, which is a mistake actually. Now we can rectify. How? By recording it. 1 lakh rupees is to be debited because it is a deposit. 1 lakh debit. Next, checks issued but not presented for payment. We can't do anything. That is not in our hands. It's the customer, it's the suppliers who have to present it. If they did not issue, what we can do? We cannot adjust anything. But already we would have credited our cash book. We don't have to do anything now. Checks deposited but not cleared also, not in our hands. That is a bank which is taking more time. Nothing from our side, so we can't do anything in our cash book. Check received and deposited but dishonored. Entry for dishonor not made in the cash book. That is wrong. It is our mistake. 5,000 rupees we received, we deposited. Means definitely we would have debited our account earlier. Later on it dishonored, but we did not do any entry for dishonor. What we should do? We should do it now. When we already debited earlier, now what we should do? We should credit it. 5,000 checks dishonored. So that is by debtors, you can call it. Then instruction for payment given to the bank on 31st December 2020, but the same affected by the bank on 1st January. So this is also not in our hands. We gave the instruction for payment, but bank delayed it. So when bank delays it, what we can do? We can't help it. So that is a mistake from the bank side. It's not even a mistake actually, it is a delay. Happens. When we are preparing a bank reconciliation statement as on a particular day, these are the differences that are there only on that day. The same differences will not be there tomorrow. On 1st January, this difference will not be there. But we are not preparing BRS on 1st January. We are preparing BRS on 31st December. So on this day, there is a difference between balance as per cash book and balance as per passbook. That is only what we are reconciling. So whatever we can do with the cash book, we did it from our side. So now what is the revised balance as per our cash book? 1,98,000 plus 1 lakh minus 39,000. Revised balance is 2,59,000. Of course, it is a debit balance. Always be very clear. By balance carried down balance is not the balance. Brought down balance is the balance. So brought down balance is which side? That is on the debit side, which means that is debit balance. 2,59,000. In the examination, this is another mistake people do. They just leave these accounts open without showing the totals. Don't do that. While practicing, we might do that, but in examinations, you cannot do that. You have to write clearly. Never leave a ledger without total. 2,98,000, 2,98,000. Clearly, the ledgers have to be totaled and balanced. Whatever is the balance, that has to be clearly written as by balance carried down, then to balance brought down. Don't do these circles and all that I am only showing you to highlight you. These arrows, circles, whatever I am doing, don't copy them blindly. That's only highlighting. That does not mean you have to do that. What you have to do, that you have to do. You have to write the descriptions very clearly, like to balance brought down, like that here, by balance carried down, again to balance brought down. What is this? What is this? What is this? You have to write the descriptions, that you have to do, and not the arrows and all that. Don't do any of these roundings and arrows in the examination. No designs are required. Simple numbers should be on display. Anyway, we have now the revised balance as per our book, that is cash book. Again, we can start with our bank reconciliation statement. So 2,59,000 is the starting point. It is the balance as per cash book. So let us call this as cash book balance. In our books of accounts, bank account balance, that is 2,59,000. Now what are the items which we are not dealt earlier, which we have to deal with them now? One of them is this is 45,000. Checks issued but not presented for payment. Checks issued means we would have credited our cash book, definitely. But not presented for payment means bank would not have done anything because they did not receive the check at all. They did not get any presentment. So what they will do? Nothing. Till they get the check for presentment, what the bank can do? Nothing. They cannot do anything. But anyway, as far as this is concerned, where is the first impact? First impact is when checks are issued, we would have recorded in our cash book. We would have credited in our cash book, because of which our cash book balance is already lower. And our starting point is cash book only. So no need of looking at second impact and all. So cash book balance, when it is already lower, what you have to do? You have to add. How much is that? Amount wise, 45,000. Checks issued but not presented for payment. 45,000 should be added. Again, I'm telling you, in the examination, you should clearly write like this: add, and a description: checks issued but not presented for payment. Like that, less various items. So just to save time, we are using this plus, minus, etc. So don't do this in the exam like that. Presentation in the exam has to be more elaborate, clean, neat, and more appreciable. Definitely legible. So 45,000 we would have created earlier in our bank account or cash book, because of which our balance is already lower. So we add it now. Then checks deposited but not cleared. So we would have debited our bank account or cash book earlier, but not yet cleared. So our balance as per our books of accounts is already more by 25,000. So what we should do? Certainly less. That is 25,000. Next. Other things we already adjusted. Whatever we adjusted, we don't have to deal with them again. Then came this instruction for payment given to the bank on 31st December. So when we gave the instruction, probably we would have already, payment we are talking. Payment means withdrawal. We would have already created our cash book, but bank did not do that. The bank did it next day. So according to our books, our cash book, probably we would have already created that. Means our balance would have been already lower. When it is already lower by 4,000 and bank did not do this payment, that means bank balance is higher, our balance is lower. Our balance, when it is lower, we have to add that. That's all. So finally, what is a balance as per passbook? You have to write full forms in the exam. $2,83,000. That's it. So that is the bank reconciliation statement, and balance as per passbook would be 2,83,000. Now, some of you might get a doubt. Can we do this 4,000 rupees adjustment in the revised bank account? No, we cannot do that, because what we did is correct. This 4,000 already we would have created our bank account in our books of accounts, or cash book, let us call it. So nothing wrong from our side. So what is there to rectify from our side? Nothing. When there is no wrong done, there is nothing to adjust. So no need to do this adjustment in the revised bank account or revised cash book. It is a reconciliation item. It will stay. For one day only it will stay. Tomorrow it will be gone. But still, since we are preparing a reconciliation statement today, it will be there in the reconciliation statement only. Nothing wrong with that. All the items in the reconciliation statement are not having any problem. There is no problem with them. They will just solve themselves in due course of time. But right now, they are causing a difference in balance between our cash book and bank passbook, because of which we are preparing this reconciliation statement. That does not mean there are some big issues. No. Other things are issues. What we adjusted. For example, this 34,000 rupees bank already debited directly in the bank account. We have to record that. We did not record that. Why we did not record that earlier? We didn't know that. We didn't have any communication. Now we have communication. So we recorded that. So it is also not an error or mistake. But still, we got a late communication. Same way, 1 lakh rupees somebody has sent us. It came to the bank account. Maybe we did not see our bank account online today and we did not record that on that day. It's a mistake. So we rectified it. Same way, 5,000 rupees dishonored check entry we did not pass earlier. That's a mistake. We rectified it. Like that, any errors are there, any type of mistakes are there, any miscommunications are there, then only the adjustment will happen in the revised cash book. If there is no error, which is a natural common phenomena for a delay in collection, delay in presentment, or any other things which will have some timing delay, for them, those are natural to happen. They will stay in the bank reconciliation statement for some time. Not for how much time? On that day only. Only on the day of 31st December 2020, these differences will exist. Next day, they may exist, may not exist. Definitely this 4,000 will not exist next day. If you prepare a bank reconciliation statement on 1st January, there will not be any problem with this 4,000 because bank also would have dealt with that on that day. So very important point here is about timing. We are preparing the statement on a day. Because of that, the differences between the balance as per passbook and cash book are shown. That's all. That is the purpose of BRS. And because of our mistakes or because of some communication delays from the bank, if we did not record something earlier, then we can do that rectification by preparing a revised bank account or a revised cash book. So that is question number 2. Answer more or less will be like this. Adjusted cash book you can call it, revised cash book you can call it. Use the words normally which are commonly used. So adjusted cash book as on 31st December 2020 exactly, and you have to prepare these things and find out the revised balance or adjusted balance. Then start with the bank reconciliation statement. Finally, you'll get balance as per bank passbook 2,83,000. So that's what is the balance as per passbook. And that's what we got. So these type of questions also for 5 marks they were given. It was given actually in the very recent examination, January 2021. Now let's move on to another question which was given in much recent examination, which is in July 2021. This is question number 3. From the following information, ascertain the cash book balance of Bajaj. So naturally, when he is asking us to calculate or ascertain cash book balance, what should be given? Passbook balance should be given. So it is given. Date is on 31st March 2021. Your heading should be always bank reconciliation statement as on dash dash date, whatever the date is given in the question. So main point here, starting point is passbook balance. Okay, but which type of passbook balance? Is it a debit balance or credit balance? It is a debit balance. When passbook is having a debit balance, is that a positive thing or a negative thing? It is a negative thing. Credit balance as per passbook is positive thing. Debit balance as per passbook is not a positive thing. That is a negative thing. So negative thing, what will happen? Nothing will happen. You don't have to change your thought process at all. All that you need to do is just start with negative amount. You start with this minus balance as per passbook. Show it as minus 3,500. That's all. You don't need to even write overdraft and all unnecessarily. It's okay. If you write it, also okay. But balance as per passbook 3,500. It is not a positive balance. It is a negative balance because it is a debit balance in passbook. That is the starting point. Once that is the starting point, remaining thought process will not change. It is all about first impact. Is that impact increasing the balance or decreasing the balance? Or if that is not first impact enough, then second impact. Is that increasing the balance or decreasing the balance? That's all. If it is already increased, we have to decrease. That means deduct. If it has already decreased, we have to increase. Means we have to add. So that thought process will not change. Everything will be same. Look at these items. A check amounting to 2,500 rupees deposited on 15th of March, but the same was returned by the bank on 24th March, for which no entry was passed in cash book. So the bank has actually no mistake. Cash book mistake happened. Even then, we are not preparing any revised cash book or adjusted cash book here because we don't know the balance of cash book. So we can't prepare that. It's okay. But impact, definitely we can know. What is the first impact? First impact is definitely in the passbook, a check was deposited. It was returned by the bank on 24th March. Returned means basically you can consider it as a dishonor that happened. When the check is dishonored, bank, what it would have done? It would have debited this amount. Which one? 2,500 rupees it would have debited when the check was dishonored. So understanding wise, on 15th of March, bank would have credited 2,500. And on 24th March, it would have debited 2,500. As far as bank is concerned, they did correct. But no entry was passed in cash book. Fine. Because we started with passbook, in the passbook, because of this difference of 2,500, what happened? The bank had debited this passbook due to the dishonor. That means the passbook balance is already lesser. It is already lesser, lower. So what we should do? We should just add. Only two things. There is no other possibility. Add or deduct. Add how much? 2,500. Passbook balance is already lower by 2,500 when compared with cash book. Why is it lower? Because the bank had already debited this amount because the check was dishonored, because it is a return check. So that is the treatment for that. 2,500 to be added. Next point, one by one we have to go. During March, two bills amounting to 2,500 and 500 were collected by the bank, but no entry was made in cash book. Once again, the first impact is passbook. Cash book, no impact it was having anything. So we don't have to worry about cash book. As far as passbook is concerned, bank collected these two items, 2,500 and 500, directly from our customers. But we didn't know, so we did not record in our cash book. But bank recorded, right? Bank recorded means already bank balance would have been more because of this, because bank collected it. It's a deposit, not a withdrawal. Because of that, the bank balance would have been more. We don't need to know whether it is plus or minus. Don't worry about that. It is more or less. That's what we need. Bank balance, because of this collection directly by the bank, would have been already more. How much? 2,500 and 500 means total 3,000. So 3,000, if it is already more, what we should do? We should deduct. That is less. That is 3,000. In exam, you have to write separately. Maybe you can write 2,500, 500 separately. That's it. Another point. A bill for 5,000 rupees due from Balaji was previously discounted for 4,800 was dishonored. The bank debited the account, but no entry was passed in cash book. Once again, here 5,000 rupees was due from Balaji, which was a bill. We discounted already for 4,800 earlier. Now it became dishonored. Now the bank will ask us 4,800 or 5,000. Of course, it will ask us 5,000. 4,800 when we received the 200 discounting charges, bank already took. That is bank's income. That's over. Now we have to pay 5,000 to bank, not 4,800. That has to be understood. Though we got 4,800 only from the bank, we will not pay to the bank 4,800. We have to pay 5,000 because that is the value of the bill. So we have to pay 5,000 to the bank. But bank, what it did, definitely bank debited the account because of this dishonor. We did not do anything in our cash book. When the bank debited this account, means our account, which is passbook, the balance as per passbook would have been lower by this amount. By how much? 5,000. It is already lower because of that. So what we should do? Add. That's all. 5,000 rupees to be added. Because the balance as per passbook would have already been lower when compared with cash book. There is a difference between passbook and cash book. So passbook debited, we did not do anything. So because of the amount being debited in the passbook, already the passbook balance would have been lower. Now we have to just add. When it is lower already, we have to just add. Now next thing comes, a check for 1,500 rupees was debited twice in the cash book. Actually, this is a mistake of the cash book. So the impact is in cash book. First impact is in cash book, but our starting point is passbook. So we have to go for second impact also. First, what happened? First, you have to see. Directly, you cannot get the answer. That's what I was telling. You cannot print the answer. You have to go step by step. Thought process has to happen. Process is important. So 1500 rupees debited twice in the cash book. First of all, in the cash book, debited means what? That is a deposit. In the cash book, debited means deposit. When it is debited twice, what would have happened to the balance? As per the cash book, it would have been more because we showed same thing twice deposited. So the cash book balance is already more. That means passbook balance is already less. When the passbook balance is already less, what we should do? We should add. Again, 1500 debited twice in cash book means deposited, means recorded as deposit twice, because of which the cash book balance would have been more. When cash book balance is more, automatically passbook balance when compared to that is lesser. When it is already lower than that, we have to add. So we added 1500. So these are the things to be added. Start with minus 3500. That's all thing you have to do. Remaining things, no problem. So here you can just have an intermittent calculation if you have time for that. So minus 3500. Start with minus 3500. Simply press minus on calculator, then 3500. Then plus 2500, plus 5000, plus 1500. So this is having 5500 intermittent total. From that, deduct 3000. This is less. So deduct 3000. Do the calculations carefully. 2500. This is a positive balance in the cash book. So what is this balance here? Positive balance means debit balance. In cash book would have been 2500. That's all. That is the answer. 5 marks for that. Proper presentation, descriptions, correct calculation. Of course, finally correct calculation will give us marks. Presentation will enhance the number of marks that we get. So final answer is 2500. That's what it is. Balance as per passbook is given, which is just negative 3500. Then just add these three things what we did, 2500, 5000, 1500. Then deduct 3000. You get balance as per cash book, which is what? Which is a favorable balance. This is a favorable balance, right? 2500 debit balance. So you have to clearly indicate that there is a debit balance in cash book. Favorable, you can write that also. So that was question number 3. Like this, smaller questions can be asked for 5 marks. Whichever the size of the question, whatever the size of the question might be, ultimately the procedure that we follow and the logic that we follow matters. With that, we'll conclude current session and we'll solve few more bigger questions, 10 marks questions related to the bank reconciliation statement in the next session. But practice these questions well, understand the logic of bank reconciliation statement well, and also follow the kind of tips that I have shared with you, particularly the things which you are not supposed to do and how a BRS has to be prepared, that we have observed in some of the questions. We will solve few more questions in the next session. Till then, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.